Johnny Tremaine, Chapter 12, Section 4. Dr. Warren whistled to his mare, who followed him like a dog. Johnny entered the tavern on Warren's heels, and to the right was the tap room, full and overfull. That would be the bar area of the tavern. Johnny half heard the same conversation going on here that he had listened to when he had stopped by to buy food at that other tavern. Had they all been heroes? Or did they just talk and do nothing? Rab never had said much, but he had done all a man might. The boy had been carried to a back chamber on the second floor. He was not in bed, but sitting up in an armchair propped with pillows. A woman of the inn had been sitting with him, quietly knitting. She got up when the doctor and Johnny entered the room and left without speaking. Johnny had been fearful that Rab would be suffering, crying out, struggling like other wounded men he had seen, afraid that with death so close, something of that aloof dignity he had always had would be shattered. He had lived with Rab a year and a half, and yet he had never really known him, not known him inside out, as, say, he had known the hated dove. But half sitting as he was, Rab did not seem at first very different from always. His face was white, but not drawn. A drawn face would show a lot of his pain and discomfort. So he's not showing pain. The eyes very dark and wide. Rab smiled. "You got out all right?" "Yes." "How's Boston?" "The British are furious that we licked them so." There was a sudden trickle of blood at one corner of his mouth. Rab wiped it away. In these few hours his hands had grown white, weak, thin, and as he turned his face, the afternoon light fell across it. Johnny saw the flesh seemed translucent, like you could almost see through it. There were lavender-purple circles about the eyes. "I've had a lot of time to think," said Rab at last, "just lying here. Do you remember that market woman who lost her pig? Its name was Myra, and it could do tricks. Then I looked up, and you were standing there, looking like a robber boy with your hand in your pocket." "I remember." Rab lay with his eyes shut for a little while, remembering other things perhaps Johnny did not share, back into his childhood in Lexington, the important and unimportant things jumbled together, a favorite dog, the death of his father, the first day he went to school, and the first day he drilled with the Minutemen. He moved a little restlessly and said, "Colonel Nesbit, remember," and he told me, "go buy a pop gun, boy." Well, a pop gun would have done me just as well in the end. This idea fretted or worried him a little, bothered him. Dr. Warren wet a cloth in a basin of water and wiped his bloody mouth. "There's my musket, over there. It's better now than any they have. I was always kind of bothered to think I might have to stand up to them without a good gun in my hands. But I had it all right." He was thanking Johnny for getting it for him. "But I never did get to fire it. They shot first." The trickle of blood became a stream. Dr. Warren was bending over him, holding his shoulders. Johnny walked disconsolately, or really upsetly, unable to be consoled about the chamber. He looked out the window. He picked up a pewter candlestick and examined the maker's mark. He heard Warren saying, "Steady, boy," and after a moment, "Is it better so?" "It is better so," Rab whispered. But the next moment he said quite naturally, "Johnny." Johnny went to him, sat on the floor beside his chair, and put his hands over Rab's thin ones. "Yes, Rab?" "You can have that musket. I sort of like to think of its going on. I've put a better stock on it, changed the angle of the steel. Look at that flint. The one it had was too smooth. I've napped it." So Rab is just describing some little details that he had corrected on this musket. "I'll take good care of it. And there's another thing you can do for me." "Anything." "Go to Silsby's Cove. See if the women have come back yet from hiding. Grandsire will be about. He said he wouldn't go off hiding. He'd sit it out in his chair." "I'll go." Then Rab began to smile. Everything he had never put in words was in that smile. But as he was leaving the room, Johnny saw that once more Dr. Warren was bending over him. He heard him say, "How is that? Is it better?" "Yes, it is better so."